In this video, you're going to see how to solve major problems that can come up when wrapping walls if the improper measurements on the key panel are made along with poor registration. So far, everything's been done properly. The wall's been prepped, measurements of the panel being drawn on the wall, and the installer here is Shad Interligi. He owns a company called Real Hit Media in New York. We're filming some videos for his company called Wall Mural, and for this particular wall, because we had most of the footage, I asked him to do this incorrectly. So basically, everything's been going great so far in terms of prep, cleaning, all this kind of stuff, and the measurements that you saw were great, except for he put the main panel on, the key panel, 2 inches too far to the left. Okay, and this wall had 1 inch of bleed on the left, 1 inch of bleed on the right. And by putting it 2 inches too far to the left, the first panel goes on fine, looks great. Second panel, I asked him to just kind of slap it on and not really take too much time to register it. So again, so far what we got going on right now is it's too far to the left, which is a problem. Installer doesn't know yet, but the registration is clearly right here, off. So now this next panel is a little crooked and it's not quite matching up. How do you solve it? In this case, instead of picking up the whole panel, which has now been cut off at the bottom, the installer can trim it into a kind of a clean, symmetrical shape based on whatever the print is giving you. In this case, it's a straight line. And it's not going to match perfectly, but it's better than what it was. So if you stand back a little bit, it blends in the big picture. So again, is this perfect? No, but it's solving the problem for maybe just today. If you go down to the bottom, you have the same type of situation, but with the overlap is 1 inch. If Shad makes a cut right here and matches it up to the first panel and pulls it away, it's now perfectly straight. So that does fly quite perfectly. The other one is somewhat passable. This one works great. So again, not a great solution there. And now for this next panel here, hopefully the installer realizes that he put it on 2 inches too far now. So what Shad's going to do is he's going to go there and take a measurement of how wide this section is. So he measures here, it's 20 inches. Come up to the top, and again, not all walls in these sections are the same. That other wall could be slightly curved, so make sure it's exactly the same, or whatever adjustment it needs to make. Takes the panel, in this case the first panel on the left, and trims the excess off before he goes live, because he might be able to use this piece on the very end where it's going to come up 2 inches short. So again, taking the time to do this with a straight edge here, he can cut it really straight. And what he's going to try to do is trim off the panel so it's about a ½ inch extra bleed. So it's really going to fit in this section nice and clean. So on the left side, it fits in with a ½ inch, a little bleed on the left. And here on the right, he's going to have the overlap here. So it's going to be about 1 inch. So what he's going to do is just install the panel as normal. So just kind of locks it in place. But here you see that 1 inch overlap. And what I asked him to do too is again, rush the panel. And you can tell now that he put it on about a ½ inch, really a big portion too low. So now you see everything's not quite fitting in place. So it looks terrible. But what I want to show is a different technique, especially for this type of area on the corner. So instead of doing those triangle cutaways that you just saw in the previous section, what he's going to do is he's going to take the straight edge here and again shift the hand position so it cuts perfectly straight. So now he's going to cut a straight line here, and now the gap is going to be about a 1/16 of an inch overlap. Then he cuts it away at the top section. Top section is blue, but right here there's the break between the blue and the light purple. So he cuts it there so it's symmetrical. So now here it looks great. And then he just carefully pulls this piece away, and then he's not going to cut those crooked sections kind of in triangles. He's simply just going to cut this away. But by making this little strip smaller, even though it doesn't register perfectly, kind of like those triangles at the bottom, when he pulls it away here, you can see that even though it looked pretty bad before, it's so minimal now that it doesn't really stand out. So again, sometimes minimizing those, up close it looks not so great, but then as the camera pulls back, you'll see that it kind of blends in and it's really hard to see straight off. So again, you're minimizing the visual here. So sometimes that's a better solution for cutting those little triangles. Now you're going to see a different technique now for the side where it came up short. Now sometimes if you have extra scraps, if you're lucky as an installer and the backdrop, let's say, is 100% blue and you have a blue strip here, you can fill it in here. So it just means an extra overlap on the panel and the client won't see it. So in this case though, it's a busy print and Shad's just going to throw this piece in here and just see if it somehow works. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. So what you're going to see here is if you stand back, okay, and see how it looks at an overall visual, because again, a lot of stuff going on in this print, maybe it works, but when you kind of, the top section blends up there, the light section, but when you get down to the dark, it doesn't. So what Shad decided to do is to say, my problem solution to this is I'm going to use my level, the width of the level, and cut it away evenly from the right-hand side of the wall. So again, carefully pulls it down, and again, this acts as a straight edge, and the level there hugs precisely in that corner, so it creates a very good straight line top to bottom. So by cutting evenly top to bottom, he's creating a gap, in this case about 2 inches or about 6 centimeters. And then what he does is goes back to the other side of the wall, the left side in this case, and does the exact same thing. So is it the wall fitting left to right exactly? No, but it's now symmetrical. So you got exactly 2 inches on the left, and if you come over to the right, you got exactly 2 inches on the right. So is it short? Yes, but because it's symmetrical, it really plays in the room nice and even. So it's a good temporary solution until the full wall can be covered. And now the last problem solving in this video is that the trim of the panels wasn't done properly. And the installer, in this case Shad, put it on just to show that you still got to go back and trim that off. So with a very steady hand, or you can use the level in this case, or line it up with masking tape so the knife cuts straight, is you want to trim this off. But again, try to trim it top to bottom so it's 100% uniform. So it makes the overlap look symmetrical and blend in. So again, a very light knife there, but by cleaning it up, it looks like a nice professional result. Even though the overlap might not be the same on all panels, this one's 3/4 as opposed to 1 inch, but it's symmetrical, looks great. Here's the final result, and again, all those little problems, it still looks great from a distance. So again, the registration looks really good, left to right, symmetrical, and you have no white on the overlaps. Thanks for watching. I'm Justin Pate.